everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today I thought we'd have a nice, lovely chat over some coffee about some books. So welcome back to the second episode of Last Current Next. In these videos, I just talk about the books that I've just finished, the ones that I'm currently reading, and what I plan on reading next. If you're interested in the first episode, I will have that down in the description box. But without further ado, we'll just go ahead and jump into some reads. So over the past week, I have been just devouring some Kindle Unlimited romances. I've just been in such a big mood for some dark romance that's super dramatic and angsty, and that is pretty much what I've been reading. I think I might have read 5 or 6 in the last week alone. So I'm kind of obsessed, but I'm not going to talk about all of them because I want to save that for my monthly wrap-up. So definitely don't forget to subscribe if you're looking to hear more about my descent into all dramatic and dark romance. But also you can follow me on Goodreads, which the link is always down in the description box. But let's go ahead and just talk about a couple of the books that I've recently finished. And first I want to talk about Gianna Darling's Fallen Men series. This is it's a motorcycle club series, which things to know about me. I'm not a motorcycle person. I don't care for them. And I don't think I've ever read, because I know it's a thing, it's its own subgenre of motorcycle club romance, but I think I've never read any. The only thing I can think of, I've read a book about somebody who had a motorcycle, but I don't remember them being in a motorcycle club. But it definitely could have been that type. But anyway, so I've not actually read any before. So I found this recommendation from, I've started following this one YouTuber. I think her name is Mary, and I'll have a link to her YouTube channel. I think it's called More to Mary in the description box, and she reads everything. So she recommended this book as, I can't even remember what video it was, but it was a dark, I think, romance maybe, I don't remember, but she recommended one of the books in the series, but happened to be the second book. So I read the second book first, but I'm going to talk about the first book in the series because I have now read the first 3 books in the series. The first book is Lessons in Corruption, and it is about a woman named Cressida who leaves a very unhappy marriage, and she goes to teach at this private school. When she moves to this town, she ends up going to a bar with some of her new coworkers, and she meets the hero of the book, King. Yes, his name is actually King. And they kind of go out a couple of times, they're starting to date and whatnot, and then one day she goes into school and sees King in her classroom because he's her student. I just think it was so funny when I got to the part, because it's maybe 50 to 100 pages in the book where she finally finds out that he's her student. I just I could not stop laughing because it was just the drama, the angst. It is what I wanted, and so I really liked that. And then it's kind of just about, their romance. She wanting to get out of this unhappy marriage, but her husband not signing the divorce papers, and then, the drama with the motorcycle club. So that's pretty much what the book is about, and what the series is about in general. Is just about drama with the motorcycle club. And the first 3 books are about the same family. So the first book is about King, the second book is about his father, and then the third book is about his sister. So far I'm really liking the series. The last book I read I didn't love, and I'll talk more about that in my wrap-up, but I highly recommend it if you're interested in some dramatic, angsty romance. It's just fun, So that is one of the books that I read recently that I gave it 4 stars. And then the next book that I read from Kindle Unlimited was The Midnight Bride by Katie Wilde. Katie Wilde is, I think I've read one of her other books in the same series, and this is a fantasy romance novella, and I really liked this one. It follows the 2 main characters who are kind of in this competition to retrieve this artifact and give it to the king, and certain people get money while our main character, our heroine, her family has been imprisoned by this king, and if she doesn't return the artifact to him, he threatens to kill her family and all of their people too. And so she's like, I have to win this. Okay, and then our hero, he is bloodbound, but basically protect this artifact from ever being like given to the wrong person, basically. And so he's a part of this competition basically to stop anyone from giving it to the king. And so even though our heroine needs to give it to the king, he's like, no. And so they end up getting married because of things. And I kind of really love the romance. They're kind of marriage of convenience, turning into a really I just really loved the fantasy aspect of it and how it played out in the world. And I really wish that, and I think Katie Wilde said that her next book in this series is going to be a full-length novel, which is really exciting because I actually really am interested in this world. And the fantasy aspect and like the magic system, and I just love it so much. A little less dramatic, a lot more angst. Really loved it. I highly recommend if you like fantasy romance. They're very quick and fun. And so next we'll talk about what I'm currently reading, and I have been, like I said, in this huge like dark romance, angsty romance kick that I've not been reading the book that I've been reading for like over a week now, which is kind of ridiculous because it's a super short book, but I'm currently reading Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is a book that, well, my brother read it and he really, really loves it. He's been getting on me to read it, and every time I talk to him, he's like, oh, how much more have you read? And I'm like, oh, like 2 pages. And so I'm a little ashamed because this book is like less than 300 pages, I want to say. It's like super short. Yeah, it's like 245 pages. So it's a very short book, and it should be easy for me to read. It's just like I want to read all of my dark and angsty romance. So I'm currently on page 59, and this is a really hard book to describe. Also because like I don't like reading synopses of books lately, and so I didn't really read it, and I just glanced at it and I'm like, it doesn't really give you anything else. It's about a labyrinth, and our main character is Piranesi, and to me he seems to be very naive, like he doesn't know anything about the world, and he pretty much just describes things as he knows them. He doesn't have any prior knowledge of history, and he just talks about, like, he's named all of the different halls within the labyrinth and the different rooms. So like the current like chapter that I'm reading is the 192nd Western Hall. So like he's named all of them, and he just lives a simple life of, you know, fishing when he needs to eat, and trying to keep warm when it's winter. So it's very interesting in that way, but you also learn about another character in the book who he calls the Other, and the Other is trying to research into a great and secret knowledge, and like we don't know anything about it. And so I don't know where this book is going. I have no idea. So I talked to my brother about it, and I was like, you know what, this book is giving me major like post-apocalyptic vibes. Like that is what I'm getting. And he was like, well, do you want me to tell you on a scale of 1 to 10 how close you are? And I was like, yeah, because that's not too spoilery. And he was like, 1. As in not close at all, which is kind of shocking because like I'm still like, after he told me that, I'm like, are you sure? Because that's the vibe that I'm getting. But I know like that's not what her previous novel was like, so I can understand why that wouldn't be right, but it's still the vibe that I'm getting. And this is definitely a weird book. He compared it to, because we're also reading The House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, and he said it was kind of similar in the vibe that book has with the kind of labyrinth type house and just like mysterious, you don't know what's going on type of thing. So if you liked that book, or if you hated that book, this one might be better because it doesn't have all of like the footnotes and the insufferable Johnny character. So I mean, I don't say that I'm like liking this because I don't feel like I have enough enough footing to tell you anything about it, even though I'm 60 pages into it. It's just interesting, and I'm definitely gonna finish it just because, like, I need to know what this is about. And I do know that you do find out, so that's good. And then I will talk about the books that I'm planning on reading next. So of course I'm going to continue with my dark romance kick because I still haven't left that. And I have a few books checked out with Kindle Unlimited. I'm not going to talk about them though because I need to talk about books that I actually really need / want to read that don't fall into that category. So first I have my personal book club, our next book pick, which our next book club I think is on the 2nd. Today is I think today's the 20th. So I've got plenty of time to read this. But we're reading Hunted by Darcy Coates because my sister has been devouring all of her books. And we are going to read this one. And let me just read the synopsis to you, okay? 5 days after Aileen Hirschberger went missing on a hike through the remote Ashlow Forest, her camera was discovered washed downriver, containing bizarre photos taken hours after her disappearance. But with no body and no additional clues, finding Aileen in the dark and winding woods seems next to impossible. Chris wants to believe his sister is still alive. When the police search is abandoned, he and four of his friends vow to scour the mountain range until they find Aileen and bring her home. But as the small group strays farther from the trails and the unsettling discoveries mount, they begin to realize they're not alone, and Aileen's disappearance was no accident. The little blurb says, her disappearance wasn't an accident. Her rescue will be a mistake. But by then, it's already too late. I'm actually kind of excited to read this. I checked out a few of her other books, and I'm not saying that I'm like interested in reading horror because I don't think I'll ever be interested in reading horror because I'm a chicken. But I don't know. I'm wanting kind of a mystery. One thing I really love is survival stories, and I know, like, obviously it doesn't sound like she survived, but I like the idea of them being like isolated in this forest where some weird things are happening. As long as it's not cannibals, I'm okay, you know? That's all I care about. As long as it's not some the hills have eyes kind of stuff, I'll be okay. And then the past 2 times I've been to the library, I checked out a ton of graphic novels because I'm just really excited to read some graphic novels. And I also kind of have a secret kind of challenge going on currently, and I think these graphic novels will really help me out. So I currently am excited to read Snot Girl. This is by Brian Lee O'Malley and Leslie Hung. And first of all, I saw this from another booktuber who really likes the series, and I love graphic novels, so I'm like, okay, sure. And if you don't know this, you probably don't because you've only ever seen me with pink hair or before I had pink hair. But I think it was last year is when I finally stopped with the green hair. I had green hair for a very long time. It's pretty much my favorite color to do. But I'm currently just in this pink phase. But yeah, this says green hair, don't care. So I was like, well, yes, green hair, don't care. So I don't know, I thought that, I was like, yes, let me read that. So I think this is, this is from the creator of Scott Pilgrim, if you're a fan of that series. Who is she? Lottie Person is a glamorous fashion blogger living her best life. At least that's what she wants you to think. The truth is, her allergies are out of control. Her friends are terrible people. Her boyfriend traded her up for someone younger, and she may or may not have killed somebody. It's the first volume of Snot Girl, and things will never be the same. That is just... That's so funny. Her allergies are out of control. I know how that feels. So yeah. I'm really excited. I'm actually probably gonna, once I'm done filming this video and my next one, I'm probably just gonna start reading this and finish it today because I just think it's gonna be really fun. So yeah, that is the next book that I'm planning on reading. And that is it for this episode of Last Current Next. Again, if you're interested in hearing more about the books that I've been reading lately and my secret reading challenge that I'm kind of attempting. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I will be talking about that at the end of the month, which is coming up quickly. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye.